So come to this now. Four South African trade union federations have come together to launch a Just Transition Research Centre. It's all aimed at providing the unions with technical expertise, this including reviewing available research and the implications for workers. Now, trade unionist, that's Matthew Grant, is joining me now to share more on this. And Matthew, thank you so much for your time. A very warm good morning to you. Surely before, the development of this research centre, you saw a gap that needed to be filled here. What gap was there? What challenges had you seen, of course, and through which you're trying to fill with this Transition Research Centre?
Good morning. The Just Transition Research Centre that we've formed as the four federations of the country is based on the move for the just transition that is occurring in the economy. There is some funding we've secured, and it's about unions coming together to protect the working class, to protect their members for all the changes that are occurring in the industries around the just transition, low carbon economy moving over. Yeah.
What are some of the risks, Matthew, that perhaps you can share with us that are posed to workers as a result of the restructuring that obviously will accompany the transition to greener climate resilience?
Well, you can imagine that there is a deep concern that unions have had, especially in South Africa, but also globally, of any job losses that would occur for transitioning a factory that makes cars, for example, mining endeavors as well into a low carbon economy. It would usually come with some job losses as new skills, new workers are required. And our job as unions is to protect those jobs, is to protect those workers as they transition over. We know that employers have a particular way of doing things. It's about profit maximization, even though they're employing workers. So for us, it's about our own research. It's independent research. It's based on what employers want to do in the economy. It's based on what we think for workers would be best. And it's about finding out how to reskill workers, upskill workers, not necessarily just replace them. So the movement to a low carbon economy is important. We do support it, but we also need to be protecting workers who have the skills necessary at the moment to perform those new kinds of jobs and tasks, but also to be able to upskill them and learn new jobs and tasks, not just to be put aside and have other workers come in.
Yeah, and I also understand that you'll have to obviously engage with members on this, as unions engaging with members on a variety of levels. We're talking here enterprise negotiations, community engagement, mobilization, to national and provincial policy development, right, Matthew? All this while you are reviewing already conducted research and obviously updating that piece of information.
Correct. So it's about our own independent research. It's about doing it properly. So that we can also be listening to workers to say, this is why the just transition is happening. This is why a low carbon economy is important. It is a global movement that's happening at the moment. But it's also being able to let our workers know why this is occurring. Also what they can do about what's going to be happening in their jobs. I mean, some jobs will be phased out. Others will be new. There's also opportunities to create new forms of employment and new skills in South Africa that can increase employment. And for us as unions, it's about coming to the party with well-researched information that can benefit the working class in general, unemployed as well, that can create new jobs, but can also lead to a future that workers themselves can engage in, have a say in, and work towards. It's not just determined by government or employers, it's determined by all of us.
Yeah. Take me through also, the funding model here. You mentioned that there is already funding commitment, and I understand French Development Agency, AFD, has committed funding. How significant is this commitment in advancing, the work you're trying to do through the Just Transition Research Centre?
Gratefully, there is a lot of funding becoming available for projects like this. We've received some funding that will go towards the Just Transition Labour Centre's work and program in developing research into various elements of a just transition economy. That money will be used to conduct certain kinds of research that we would come together as the 4 federations. It'll be specific, it'll be union-directed research. It'll be money that will be used towards developing not only protecting jobs, new kinds of jobs, but the technicalities that we'll be dealing with when it comes to or a low-carbon economy. We're also going to be looking at how we see, and with our particular focus on the working class in general, how it affects them. There's a lot of research out there that does look at how it affects the economy, how it might benefit or not. We'll be looking a lot more at the technicalities of how it might affect workers who have jobs and lost them, whatever other research we think is vital, maybe alternatives, that employers might say this is the only way. We might have alternatives, and we'll put some money towards researching the actual alternatives of green jobs, but also different kinds of forms of jobs that we'd be looking into.
Yeah, and just lastly, before I let you go, I understand that this is not only a research centre which focuses on experiences from South Africa, Matthew. There'll also be international references made, right?
Yes, and if you remember a few decades ago, the just transition is an actual term that was coined by the union movement globally. So it's our attempt to sort of put our foot back into the pasture, as it were, in reclaiming that space, because it is about us having a large say in terms of what we can actually be doing within the framework where all this movement is happening. Is very quick. You know that South Africa has gotten 8.5 billion loans in terms of transitioning its economy. This is about us trying to engage with how that might work in South Africa, but we also have connections to international confederations of trade unions that will be looking into the research that they've done. Can we replicate it in South Africa? And how does it affect us in this particular context? So we will be joining other research bodies that focus on the working class, how they do pull things together, and sharing information, resources, and building solidarity to try and make sure that workers aren't left out in the cold, workers aren't unfairly treated when it comes to just transition, and that their interests are looked after as well.
Well, I appreciate you speaking to me about this morning. Matthew Grant, thank you so much for your time from SAFTU. That's Matthew Grant talking to us more about how 4 South African trade union federations have actually all come together to launch a Just Transition Research Centre, all this to develop the technical expertise just to help the labour movement in addressing potential risks that may be posed to workers.